What if I told you SpongeBob was not only racist, but also whitewashes an entire culture? This is what we're doing today. So the other day, I found an article, and I'm going to read you the article's title here. All right. SpongeBob Squarepants promotes violent and racist colonialism. University professor claims. So, what episode of SpongeBob are y'all watching where he becomes a violent and racist person that promotes colonialism? Because I've never seen that episode. Have you? I would like the link, because I don't think that's an episode. I don't think that's an episode at all. So I read the article, or at least the first page, that this article by The Independent is referencing. And I only read the first page because that's all I was allowed to access. And even the first page just chocked full of shit. And the first page of that article is called, I got my little notes here. The title of the article, I mean, is Unsettling SpongeBob and the Legacies of Violence on Bikini Bottom. Oh boy. So what I did was I picked out about 3 quotes here from the article, and I'm gonna read them out to you, and then we're going to react to them. And oh boy, I have some opinions on these. In reference to the death of Steven Hillenburg, this is a quote from the article. I shit you not. Social media lit up with messages about Hillenburg's passing, noting it as a sad day for Bikini Bottom and fans of the show. Missing from the obituaries and tributes to Hillenburg's legacy, however, was any discussion about the normalization of colonial and military violence engendered through his cartoon depiction of Bikini Bottom. So if you guys don't know, Bikini Bottom is like a loose reference to the Bikini Atoll Islands, which in the 1950s or so, I'm going off the top of my head here, in the 1950s or so, the American military came in and they displaced the native inhabitants so they could test nuclear bombs. And that is what Holly Baker is referencing throughout this article. But funny thing is, I don't think that was brought up in the obituaries or tributes because Hillenburg didn't normalize any of that. In fact, Hillenburg never talked about any of that in the fucking cartoon. Because it's a cartoon. It's not a hot fucking take on society. It's a cartoon. And get this, all right? There's a quote in here that discredits her entire article, and I find it hilarious. Despite being presented as a nonsensical and harmless cartoon, end quote. Despite being presented as a nonsensical and harmless cartoon, does that not disprove or discredit the entire article right there? You just told your readers that it's a nonsensical and harmless cartoon, and there's not much meaning behind it because it's a cartoon. It's not like SpongeBob is secretly like supportive of displacing native peoples and nuking their homelands. Because that'd be fucking nuts to assume. A college professor wrote this. A college professor.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues.
The next quote. The cartoon desensitizes viewers to the violence of settler colonialism, normalizes and erases the displacement of Bikinian people from their ancestral land, end quote, because this goes on for like a fucking paragraph. And I really just don't want to get into it. And once again, the cartoon doesn't desensitize the viewers to the violence of settler colonialism, or whatever you want to fucking call it. Because the cartoon doesn't fucking talk about that. It's about what shenanigans is SpongeBob going to get up to today. It's just, there's no reference to the displacement of native peoples. I can't believe I have to say this. And the next quote from the article, the last one I'll read from that main article: "The settling of Spongebob Squarepants and his friends into Bikini Bottom is connected to broader entanglements of military colonialism." They didn't settle there. If anything, SpongeBob and his friends were probably there way before the native peoples. The native peoples do not own the ocean. There was flora and fauna there way before them. I can't believe I'm getting like this deeply invested into SpongeBob lore and trying to discover the history. Logically speaking, if SpongeBob was real, SpongeBob and his friends would have been there way before all of them. And they never fucking settled. They just lived there. They didn't just be like, oh yeah, this island's fucking sick. Let's kick these people out and let's just live here. So the Independent article, the one that says SpongeBob SquarePants promotes violent and racist colonialism, university professor claims. This one's just chock full of even more hot takes. This is my favorite quote out of all of this. This is what Holly Baker said. SpongeBob showed his privilege of not caring about the detonation of nuclear bombs.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes.
There's white privilege, class privilege, and I didn't get fucking nuked privilege. I have that privilege. I didn't get nuked, but I think we all know who did. She also points out that the cultural appropriation of Pacific culture in SpongeBob SquarePants, with Hawaiian-style shirts, homes in the shapes of pineapples, tikis and Easter Island heads, and the sounds of a steel guitar perpetuating the stereotypes of the region. So we're just going to pick this apart piece by piece. Hawaiian-style shirts. I hope Miss Baker knows that Hawaiian shirts weren't made by the Bikini people or the Hawaiian people. I'm pretty sure it was made by a Japanese guy in the 1920s. I'll put it on screen if I'm right. If not, I'll just say wrong on the screen, all right? But I'm like 99% sure it was made by a Japanese guy in the 1920s. Not the Hawaiian people. So if anything, if SpongeBob's culturally appropriating, he's culturally appropriating the fucking Japanese, and that kind of makes SpongeBob a weeb. Homes in the shape of pineapples. That is inferring that pineapples are inherently cultural appropriation. So keep in mind, every time you eat a pineapple, you're culturally appropriating Hawaiian people. The next part, tikis and Easter Island heads. And then the next part, the sounds of a steel guitar perpetuating stereotypes of the region. You know, like that every once in a while you'll hear the guitar in SpongeBob? Yeah, that's cultural appropriation. This is all just fucking retarded. This is how she ends that original article. We should be uncomfortable with the hamburger-loving American community's occupation of Bikini Lagoon and the ways that it erodes every aspect of sovereignty. First off, I'm a bacon cheeseburger-loving American. And second off, if this is a reference to fucking SpongeBob, it's Krabby Patty. Fucking check your privilege, alright? This last article, I have nothing to say here. There's like, you can pick it apart and can't pick it apart at the same time because it's just a broad statement. Racism's bad.
How could this happen?